Hello and welcome to the Silicon Alley Podcast. I'm super excited you could join me today. I'm William Glass, CEO and co-founder of Ostrich, and of course, your host of the Silicon Alley Podcast. Now, on the Silicon Alley Podcast, I talk to entrepreneurs and top performers to understand what it truly takes to grow and scale a business. You'll get actionable advice that you can apply in your own business and life. And on today's episode, I sit down with special guest Chander Arora, the founder and CEO of Louie, premium spirits brand that specializes in blends. Before I jump into his background and what you can expect on the episode, if you have not already, please subscribe and follow the Silicon Alley Podcast wherever you get your podcasts so that you get notified when new episodes drop every Friday. And of course, if you hear something that you like or that you know your buddy, your mom, your sister, your cousin would like, please share it with them as well. That is the only way the podcast grows, is through you sharing really great episodes like this one with your friends and family. Today's guest, Chander Arora, is the founder and CEO of Louie, a liquor brand with a number of unique spirits in its arsenal. Chander is an international expert in spirits industry with 20 plus years experience. Chander started the company in 2011 by helping his daughter, Nina Arora, with her college project. They created the company's first product, Vodquila, a crafted blend of vodka and tequila. Chander turned his daughter's college assignment into an international spirits business. With his knowledge of chemistry, he's able to actually create all the formulas and recipes for each blend in-house. So prior to starting Louie, Chander's entrepreneurial journey started when he came to the US from India while on business. He happened to meet the love of his life here and decided to build his life. A self-starter and determined to make the American dream a reality, Chander began buying and selling businesses that range from laundromats, convenience stores, real estate, and even truck stops. Chander goes really deep in today's episode about his journey. It all started with him driving a forklift in a textile factory and now has landed him building Louie. Chander's wide open about both his successes and failures as an entrepreneur. There are some doozies in there, and I really appreciate him opening up. It's from international shipments from China going wrong to some nefarious international hackers. You will definitely be entertained, and you will learn a lot on today's episode. One quick note, though, for full transparency, I have been trying to get Chander on the podcast for a while now, and I actually grew up with his son, Romeo Arora. We played soccer together and lived down the street. Now, just before we sat down to record this, Louie actually opened up a crowdfunding round, an equity crowdfunding round, and I did choose to purchase some shares in that. While I've been wanting to have them on the podcast, I do need to be transparent. I own a small number of shares in Louie now. So with that, and without further ado, I hope that you enjoyed today's inebriating episode of the Silicon Alley Podcast featuring the Chander Arora.
You got no time to waste, but still you hesitate. Caught in a circle saying, I'll never leave this place.
Chander, welcome to the Silicon Alley Podcast. Super excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having us. We are very excited. This is the first podcast I'm doing. So, I'm also very excited to be part of this one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun because we've obviously known each other for a while. I grew up with Romy, your son, and we were right down the street from each other for years in Birmingham. Yeah, exactly. In the same neighborhood, just down the street. So this is a lot of fun to get to sit down.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've seen you guys grow up and, do all your, stuff that teenagers do.
Yeah.
But now I'm glad to see you, both of you are in New York and enjoying your life and progressing. So very proud of you guys.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm really excited today to talk about what you guys have been building as a family, Louie, and sort of the founding story and what all you're hoping to do with the brand as well. So definitely want to talk about that. But I guess before we jump into that, Chander, I'd like to get a little context for the audience in terms of your story and your entrepreneurial background, because this is not your first entrepreneurial endeavor.
No, it's not. And let me just start by saying that USA as a country is the best country on earth. This is the only nation that will invite an immigrant and let him come in and work his way through and give him the fruits of his labor and afford him the citizenship and be the participating a citizen of the nation's environment. And this is the only country. Many countries will afford you the jobs and other environment, but they will not afford you the citizenship. You could never be their citizen. Here, this is the best country on earth. And I came from India in 1985 as a businessman to traveling to do some business here on behalf of a textile mill in India, and happened to meet my future wife here, and we got engaged, and she applied for my status change as from a visitor to a immigrant, and that was it took about 2.5 years for that to process. So I started a life as a forklift driver in a
Yeah,
textile
yeah.
mill, and I was working third shift just like everybody else. Started wherever you could find a job, let's do it. And gradually my supervisor found out that I have a master's in business administration from India, and he said that you're educated. Do you know anything about computers? I said, yeah. He said, I have an overtime job in a different department, and it was a textile mill, so it was dyeing and chemicals. And I had a chemistry background at that time, so I started working overtime in that department. I learned it so fast that they started depending upon me to do the color verifications and this was a massive industry. We used to make
Yeah.
fabric for Ford and Mazda, and all those fancy nylons that ladies wear for lingerie. We used to make that, and the colors were very important. So I had specialized in colors.
Yeah.
Of course, company sent me to a lot of classes and life improvement classes, and further education. But gradually, I moved up from a forklift operator to a shift leader to a supervisor to a plant superintendent, and then I changed my jobs to become a plant manager in Columbiana in Alabama. It's a small town, but a big jump. So I was over 300 people in a small town in deep in Alabama territory, which I was the second foreigner in the company.
Wow.
Another engineer in the company was a Russian, and I'm the only Indian, and I was supervising Russian also. So it was a challenge. You can imagine that, being in South in 92, 93, it was, I had to learn how to curse quite a bit, because otherwise, they don't think that you're friends. You're not normal, because if you're, so you had to, learn the language. I had to pick a team,
Yeah.
just like everybody who comes to Alabama has to pick a team. So I picked up Alabama because Auburn didn't sound good to me. So I've been an Alabama fan ever since.
Wise
But
choice.
life changed. We became, I had a family by that time. We settled in the neighborhood that you and Romy met. And from there onward, the life has been progressing. The company finally made a decision to move the operations to Honduras, because at that time NAFTA had, as you are aware of NAFTA agreement,
Yeah.
North America Free Trade Agreement, which
Yeah.
included some of the North Central American countries were part of that at that time. So the company wanted to move to Honduras and wanted me to establish a plant there. I refused because I came from India to USA not to go to Honduras, even though they were giving me good offers and all that. So we just started a new life after the company left. We bought dry cleaning businesses. We had gas stations. So I just never worked for anybody else since '95. So it has been, growing ever since. And in 2008, 9, and 10, we were working on we had a very large truck stop. We were very prosperous, but the economy tanked.
Yeah.
2008, everything, the housing crisis came in, the construction stopped, and trucking industry is pretty much based on the construction. So our business slowed down. I had a lot of time on my hand, and that's the time I was looking to start something new from ground up, not buy, not acquire, not like another gas station, not another cleaners, not another hotel, just like what we Indians do. I say it's going to be new, and that's the time we were looking at liquor industry. Maybe there are two, three reasons for that. Number one, this industry has no inventory issue. It doesn't expire.
Yeah.
Every other product, which is a food product, expires after 2 years or so. Alcohol, the bacteria doesn't grow in this one. So it has a shelf life of almost 30, 40, 50 years. So that was one reason I didn't want to start anything that could really go out of fashion, which is clothing.
Yeah.
You start a clothing line, you start t-shirts, they don't exist, the colors change. Food items, things change, and the taste change, and the nutritionals, they tell you not to eat eggs today and eat eggs tomorrow. Liquor is one thing has been established just one way.
Yeah.
You make it, you drink it, you have a good time. So that was my focus after doing a lot of research, that I need to start something in there, but I did not want to start a company that will be mimicking other existing institutions, which
Sure.
are much larger, which have much bigger fan base, and they have a lot bigger budgets. We wanted to do something that will be unique, and an opportunity came when my daughter, she was studying her business degree in Birmingham Southern College, which is a very prestigious private college in Birmingham area. And her marketing professor gave them a challenge that we need to, you guys mean that their student need to create a product
Mhm.
which doesn't exist, but then have to make a marketing plan to sell it.
Yeah.
So she was wondering what to do and all that. And one day she came home and I was messing around with drinks, just like thinking what to do. And she said, Dad, our friends drink vodka in the parties, and then everybody start taking shots of tequila. And some days, it's a very good fun, and some days it just ends up in a disaster. And why cannot we just make it in such a way that it's easier to drink? Because tequila, you normally take a shot second.
Yeah.
Now it's very pungent and it's very harsh. So that's when the idea came that, hey, why don't we start something that is a blend of two spirits, which has never been done before. So that's where the Vodquila came into play. So we blended tequila and Vodquila and vodka, and made the tequila a little lighter to drink. And it was just why not kind of movement.
Yeah.
And she took it from there, and she wrote a business plan for, and she graduated from the college very, with a good marks. She gave me the plan. So I worked on it down the road and made a new product. So that's just the beginning of my life as an immigrant. She's an immigrant's daughter in a very boys oriented industry,
Yeah.
which is the alcohol industry. She comes up with an idea that is unorthodox. It has never been done before, and that why not movement became a success story 10 years down the road, that we are in 30 plus states in the United States. We are in multiple overseas markets, and we sold 100,000 cases so far, and we have added new products. But that's all because United States afforded me that ability or the opportunity to work and make something out of my life, and give me a chance to raise my children. Both are born here. Raise my children and go to good colleges, and they're independent, good citizen adults. So I'm just saying this all started because of United States.
Gotcha.
So, that's just the brief background on my life. Of course, there are many, many chapters that, that are good and bad, just in anybody's life.
Chander, yeah, I love that story. Thank you for giving us that overarching sort of journey, and coming to the United States and being able to build a family and a business, and then go out and start your own. I'm curious what some of the challenges that you faced along the way, especially as you started to pivot into the entrepreneurial space, and it sounded like the first sort of way that you ended up in entrepreneurship was buying dry cleaning businesses, a truck stop. What was that like? And what's it like to buy an existing business? And then would love to get into sort of the nuances of starting something from the ground up.
It's challenging, like any other thing, that if you are not trained in that, you're going to find by trial and error only. Only fortunate thing that the decision to buy dry cleaning was because I was from textile industry.
That
I
makes sense.
knew the finishes, I knew the colors, I knew the on a much larger scale, I knew what the fabric will do.
Yeah.
On a very smaller scale, dry cleaning business afforded me an opportunity to be my own owner or business owner. But I could not make a textile plant at such an early stage of my life. So this was an opportunity where I could use my training
Yeah.
in the chemicals, training in the fabrics, that I could use to explore a little bit further and still be able to afford my family a decent living. So we bought a business because of that, actually.
Okay.
And the dry cleaning was successful. We bought a plant in Vestavia, and then we made we bought more stores, and we had a delivery service, and we did everything. And in between, some opportunities came up that we found a convenience store which was closed, and we had some experience while working in North Carolina in textile industry. We had a small side business in convenience stores. So that property was closed and it was shut down for 3 years. Somebody told me that, hey, you want it. So we paid $11,000 for the whole thing without the property, and
Wow.
opened it up and started doing business there. Within 1 year, bought the property also. So total investment was $181,000. And after about 5 years, I sold it for
Wow.
$565,000. So that prompted me to actually buy old convenience stores
Mm-hmm.
and build them, run them, sell them. So it became a kind of a progressive. And in between, I sold the dry cleaning business, kept the property. So the property, we still own it since '95. It's a very prime property, and
Yeah.
so I stayed in real estate. I stayed in real estate quite a bit, and we bought convenience store, built it. 3 years down the road, sell it, buy another one, sell it, and then finally we settled on a very large entity, which is a truck stop.
Yeah.
It was brand new. It had a lot of revenue potential. So 2002 we bought that, and then didn't buy anything else. But we did more than $12 million sales
Wow.
in good years, just from one unit. But then 2008, 9, and 10 put everything kind of under wraps because of the economy.
Yeah.
And that gave me an opportunity to start a new business because I had time on my hand. And that's when this idea of Vodquila came in. We kept the gas station, the truck stop, till about this year. But now in last 10 years, we have progressed enough in this business that I can afford a full salary and afford my family and lifestyle with a new business. So we sold the business to another family, and they are doing thriving on that. So the progression has been with these acquisitions, with these small, but you always have a learning curve.
Yeah.
In every business, you learn by mistakes. I will explain to you that what the entrepreneurship really, there's a mess in there. It's not you only see the success stories, but you don't see the failures. And to
Yeah.
get to that one success, you have 30 failures beforehand, and that could be in one single life, actually. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about 30 entrepreneurs. One single life could have 30 failures and one success. So that's a progression. You learn from previous mistakes, you grow, you try to do a better job next round, but don't quit. That's the main thing. You
Yeah.
cannot quit. You cannot just settle down and say, this is it for me. I'm 63 years old. I'm still trying to start a new business. I'm still working to progress the entity that we got. So I'm not going to stop. So it's been a challenge. So
Yeah.
it's been a challenge.
No, I love that. And I'm appreciate you bringing up the fact that, there's obviously failures, and we're talking about the highlights right now. So, we're hitting all the highlights and successes along your journey. I guess one thing before we get into some of those challenges, because I'd love if you'd be able to open up about some of the challenges and how you overcame those. But before that, there's obviously this innate drive to succeed. And, as you said, 63, starting a new liquor company. Obviously it's been around for about 10 years, but really going in full time to grow and scale Red Eye Louie's and the different liquor brands that you have underneath that. Where does that drive to succeed, that drive to sort of write your own destiny come from?
That fire has to be in your belly. And that's the fire that we brought us to United States. I am from India, and I was educated there, but the opportunities are not there. It has too much population, too many people chasing the same opportunities. Jobs were scarce. So even though we were educated, the opportunities were limited. And countries like that, nepotism is very common. Friend, family helping family. If you are nobody, nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
But once I arrived in the United States, and I didn't come in here to settle down. I came in here as a businessman representing a very large textile mill from India and doing some export fabric and all that. Once I met my wife and, we had a time to spend together, I had a time to explore United States before I went back. I decided that this is the country that I would love to make my home. And I had the feeling that a lot of people before me had come here and succeeded in their lives. Why not me? I have the background. I can speak English. I just need a foothold.
Yeah.
And once that foothold came in that forklift operator opportunity, I didn't quit on that. I didn't say that I'm educated. I don't need this job. I can do better. But that fire in your belly to do better for your future, because William, when you land in United States, government of India only gives you maximum $20 in US dollars to take because the foreign exchange was very, very precious at that time. Today it's very open.
Yeah.
We came with the $20 bill in our hand and a suitcase. So everything from there onward is the progress actually. That suitcase and $20 is my investment.
Yeah.
And that's where I said that I need to improve on. I don't have nowhere to go back to. So we just basically, if I go back to India, it's a shame that you went to United States and you were not able to succeed. Are you serious? People go there and do everything. So that fire was in the belly.
Okay.
It just needed a time, progression, trial and errors. But every time you have to do it and put everything on the table and say, win or lose, I'm gonna do it. And you lose sometimes. But that is the only way an entrepreneur can succeed, is because if he wants to do something, he have to risk everything. I will explain to you that what the entrepreneurship really, there's a mess in there. It's not you only see the success stories, but you don't see the failures. And to get to that one success, you have 30 failures beforehand, and that could be in one single life actually. And I'm not talking about 30 entrepreneurs. One single life could have 30 failures and one success. So that's a progression. You learn from previous mistakes, you grow, you try to do a better job next round, but don't quit. That's the main thing. You cannot quit. You cannot just settle down and say, this is it for me. I am 63 years old. I'm still trying to start a new business. I'm still working to progress the entity that we got. So I'm not going to stop. And that opportunity came along the way with a limited risk, of course, because I had a family. I could not just put everything on the roll of the dice. But my wife was working. I became an entrepreneur so that we could have a food on the table if I fail. But God has been good to us, and the people of Alabama accepted us as even foreigners. We never felt any kind of a feeling that we were not welcome here. So it just community and where we were, it just helped us to grow further, grow a little bit. But that fire is still there. That one day I want to leave a legacy of a brand that my children can down the road can claim and say, well, look, us as a family, created something that is, even if it's sustainable, good, if it's sellable, it's good, but the name is still there.
Yeah.
And that's the fire is still, I still want to go forward. I'm never going to retire. I don't have any desire to, be on the golf course all day long. How to play golf, but not every day. So I'm going to be working, and this is something that I choose at this stage of life, that I'm not going to start another on, no real estate, no hotels, no nothing. There are many opportunities that come on your way for investments, but my focus is not this. So there's not going to be anything else but the liquor industry, and we want this company to go to a level of a portfolio company, and which we will discuss further down in this conversation. That the idea is to actually grow from the blends into the mainstream, and then mainstream brands, and maybe one day, maybe we might have a big acquisition, or we may go for an listing on the stock exchange. But the time will tell. But we are progressing toward that direction. But the question still remains, that fire is still there.
Yeah.
It is the land of opportunity. If you don't achieve it, don't try it, go back. Food was still there too. Everybody's eating in India. India is actually very progressive right now. It is growing country, but we are the best nation on the earth. So we need to continue to strive, continue to do what we can actually. So that's the way I feel. And my children do the same thing. They're both entrepreneurs. They're both working in their own fields. They decided their own directions, and they are both successful. Both are in New York, just like you are, and both of them live in Manhattan, and both of them are involved in the company. They do their jobs, and they guide me, because I'm not technology savvy. The youngsters are, and they guide me in these social media events, and they guide me about the marketing and new techniques, Instagram kind of. I'm not too familiarized with them. They are the one who are helping me to put the brand together.
No, I love that. And, the family approach that you've taken as well, I think adds that meaning. As you mentioned, you want to build a legacy and a brand and something that you can pass down to your kids and their kids and down the generation, something that was built that means something to you and the family. Chander, I'm curious, you've talked about this a couple of times about the failures and having to just continue to push back those. Could you talk about some of the challenges that you've overcome and failures that you've had to overcome in your entrepreneurial career?
Language is one big barrier for an immigrant. Understanding English is very necessary, and I'm only saying from an immigrant perspective, because many of your audience are probably coming from other countries. Language was one challenge that was necessary to conquer.
Yeah.
You could not succeed in a society if you could not communicate, and could not communicate properly.
Yeah.
I can say, we can say the communication word, okay, thank you, yes, gracias, those are very simple words. But if, like I'm talking to you, I was not able to speak this way when I arrived here. I could read English, but not. That was one of the biggest challenge that I had to learn here. I had to basically go back to the children's TV programs, Barney and those program, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Those are the way that you learn the pronunciation, you learn the colloquial language, you understand, what a bad means. In my language, bad is bad, but in America, bad was good actually. A dude was, those are the things that it's so bad. But when I came in here, say it's so bad, why you're so happy about it? But no, it meant something different actually. But that's the local.
Yeah.
Till you don't understand those, you're not going to progress. So that was the first challenge, that language was a barrier, which I tried to, learn from experience, took classes, and took Dale Carnegie course. My company, the textile company that I started working with, they were very helpful. They sent me to They send me to a lot of like life improvement courses. They're related to the company, they're related to my work, but they're related to personal life also.
Mhm.
So the company was very progressive. They were listed in New York Stock Exchange. So it helped. But that was one challenge. And the second challenge is accumulation of investment money.
Yeah.
Where do you get it? You have to have a seed capital. To do any entrepreneurial work, you cannot just say, I don't have nothing, but I want my family to give me money and so that I can start something. It does not work.
Yeah.
Unless I'm willing to put my hard-earned money in there, I am not able to convince anybody to say, well, look, help me out. I have a bright idea. Entrepreneur needs to have savings to
Mhm.
start and then risk it all so that other people will risk with you. That's the challenge that, it took us about from 87 when I started working legally in the United States to 93, 94, we saved one salary for our future growth. And
Wow.
that's the
Yeah.
money that we spend to buy a dry cleaner.
Yeah.
And that's how the progression started. So that was the second challenge. The banks are there to help, but the banks help only successful people.
Yeah.
If you're a failure, the banks don't want to look at you. To be successful, you have to start something and succeed in there. So that was the second challenge. The third challenge that I feel is that we we want to do something, but we never study the demand part of it.
Mm.
We are very good at supplying. I know what I can make. Is
Yeah.
there any need for it? Is it going to fulfill a void that nobody has thought about it? Is it going to create a new demand? Is it going to create a better service? Is it going to create something that is unique about it? Those things don't happen in normal circumstances, and that's where the failures are happening. So those are the challenges I think in an entrepreneur life that they are coming about, and I think that there are many more challenges, William. You know that, and in a small conversation, you cannot just go through everything. But those are the main thing. That language was one, because of
Yeah.
the immigration, and the second thing was the initial financing. That was the second
Yeah.
challenge that so I had to face, and the planning. What to do
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously communication is key, and something that if you're, born in the US or whatever, wherever you're from, and you speak the language, you kind of take for granted, and how important that is in business. And a lot of it is being able to communicate with your employees, communicate with your customers, communicate with your vendors, your suppliers. And, obviously put a vision for where you want the company to go. And as you mentioned, financing is always a challenge. It's a big conversation, especially with companies now, about raising money, or how do you raise money, or where do you get money? And as you mentioned, the banks are focused on, they want to back someone that has success, right? And
Correct.
that's an easier bet for them. It's safe for them. And so, how do you get those initial wins, those initial successes, so that you can tap into some of these other traditional sources from banks and other types of financing? When you were so going back to the story of Red Eye Louie, so you come up with this idea of Vodquila, which is the first spirit in the Red Eye Louie arsenal. What was that process like of going from, okay, so your daughter brings the marketing plan, you start to execute on it. Talk to me about that sort of projection and how Vodquila has led into these other spirits that you've created, and ultimately the Red Eye Louie brand itself.
Let me start with the beginning of the Vodquila challenges. Actually,
Absolutely.
it was when we briefly touched on it, I mentioned that we created a brand.
Yeah.
This story is actually 2 years into making. The conversation with my daughter Nina is in 2010 actually,
Okay.
and she came up with this vodka and tequila combination blend. So we said, okay, well, why don't we try it? Let's see what happens. So first thing I do is go and buy a local, I'm not going to take the name of the brands because
Yeah.
now we may be competing with each other. So I bought one of those and got some vodka and tequila and started mixing it together. And then I started redistilling it actually. I bought
Okay.
a lab equipment, Fisher equipment that we use in a lot of labs. I started putting a beaker together, distilled it, and just see I can redistill the vodka and tequila together and all that and make something new out of it. Nothing worked actually. The reason, and 6 months down the road, when we done the progressive redistillation process, we found out that tequila is actually a geographical denomination that cannot be messed with. Tequila can only be made in Mexico.
Yep.
In Mexico, it only can be made in Jalisco state, and also from a blue agave.
Yep.
So my redistilling in the United States would void that. I will never be able to call it tequila because
Yeah.
I messed with it. So, and it was against the law actually. Well, not the law literally, but it was against their intellectual property rights actually. So they
Yep.
could have sued me anytime. So we just didn't know what to do. So the progressively we started blending it then. Instead of redistilling, we started blending it. But the cold blend didn't work.
Yeah.
We tried to put different proportions, this much tequila, this much vodka, this. Ultimately, we came on a process that is age old. Age is old, in chemistry. It's called thermal blending. You heat something, it changes the molecular structure of that compound. You add something in there, it just as a new compound comes out of it.
Yep.
And that's where, for example, a tea bag, you drop it in a cold water and nothing happens actually.
Yeah.
But the same tea bag, you drop it in a 150 or 160 degree temperature, and new colors, new flavors start flowing out. So we use that principle to heat up the tequila a little bit,
Okay.
and then added the cold vodka in there. And because there are very different chemical composition of the both spirits, it was not. It was like oil and water. They're trying to not to merge together or mix together. They were trying to fight it. But heating one up opened that structure and vodka, and then we added vodka, and then we let it sit down. But now the challenge was we have a product, which my kids as my testers, they liked it. So they gave it to, hey, my friends, come in here, let's try this. They were old enough at that time. Let's try this, let's try that. Oh yeah, uncle, we like it. Mr. Arora, we like it. Now the thing was what to go from here. We have to produce it in a commercial quantity. I have to get permissions. So we had to request the FDA approval because it's for a human consumption.
Yeah.
And for that purpose, we don't directly approach the FDA, but the alcohol industry has a different controlling body. And we had to submit to them the formulations and all that. And we finally found out that it's okay to drink.
Yeah.
So that's when the challenge came, where to produce it in commercial quantities. So I visited about 20 distilleries to ask them to replicate or duplicate my process. And out of 21, 20 of them, 20 rejected me, saying that, number one, why do it? Why can't you just mix it in the bar? Why
Yeah.
your product is new? Second thing is that who will buy it? People buy vodka or tequila. Who would buy your product? So 20 rejections after that. One distillery in Florida accepted my idea and say, well, let's do it in the lab. And they converted my process in the lab and brought a bunch of samples. They did a lot of research and a lot of tasting, professional tasters. They picked up the combination that we had actually submitted, along with some dummies and some placebos and all that.
Yeah.
And it worked out that distillery took us on. Now the challenge was, even if we have it, how are we going to sell it?
Yeah.
So
Distribution.
not only distribution, we have to have permissions from the federal government
Yeah.
to start a brand. You have registrations, you have formulas, you have name registrations, you have intellectual property rights, trademarks. So we went through the shebang of those, and it took us from 2010 to to 2012 September before the first bottle of Vodquila was sold in Alabama.
Wow.
So it took 2 year journey, but it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of challenges. And what I told my children, if I had to do it again, I would have never done it. We
Yeah.
just didn't know. So
Yeah.
ignorance is a bliss sometime. If I had known what I was launching into, I would have just quit right in the beginning. But not knowing what was coming and just continuing to, okay, let's do it, let's see what happens. So we made 1,000 cases of Vodquila, and I told my family, I said, look, if they don't sell for next 30 years, this is the only drink we're going to drinking because it'll be in my basement. So for 30 years, we'll be drinking the same thing. You're not allowed to drink anything else. But God willing, we sold, the day that we sold the first bottle, we sold 27 cases actually.
Wow.
And it was a progression from there, and gradually people thought that I was doing the right thing. They are saying that tequila is very pungent, very, very strong, and it's very hard to sip unless you spend $60 or $70 tequila, which are mellowed down. But for a normal person, it's normally a shot. And it's a beautiful drink. It was challenging, but to change the profile of the tequila with the vodka added, it made it a little easier. And a lot of people took on to that, especially the youngsters, especially the college going teens or young adults. They like that the new challenge, and the branding was also targeted towards them. You probably noticed behind me that we have a skull, we have a sombrero, and sombrero is tilted actually. And the that is a challenging logo for a food product.
Yeah.
Think about a skull on a food, you can put a skull on an ink or skull on a shotgun, but skull on a food product was challenging. The sombrero was a call to tequila
Yeah.
because it's a Mexican item. And the tilt of the sombrero is the same tilt that the Rangers use on the caps. They tilt it, so they are bad, they don't give a damn. They are the one that will say, come on, challenge. They are the one that who are, I would say the word, but they are the crazy ones. They are the one who will jump into the fire before they think what they're going to face. So that's why we picked up the logo, but the logo was challenging to the youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
They adopted that logo. They liked the packaging, and the drink was decent. So they started picking it up as their go-to drink for the evenings. And instead of spending $50, $60 for a very high-end tequila, we were at 1999. It became to go to for the young groups that the party. We can all not try to acknowledge it, but it does happen. We in fraternities and colleges, and we have gatherings, and this became to go drink in those university towns, and gradually it moved on to other demographics that we were not aware of, and so we have done a lot of work in those challenging years. In the beginning, it was not easy to bring a product to the market.
I appreciate you talking through some of the early challenges, and that whole 2-year process from an idea to being able to have that first bottle and selling it. It's a long arduous journey, especially in being in a highly regulated industry with the liquor industry.
Exactly.
Adds an extra layer of complexity to what you're doing. So you end up getting this really great response, and initially the young demographic. How did you go from just the Vodquila line to Rumquila, Whiskquila, and if I'm tuned into it, soon to be some just a pure play American whiskey down the line?
It is true. The Vodquila was the challenge, even though I said that in 2012 we started it. The story was not good actually. We started selling it, but manufacturing and keeping control of inventory, keeping it running as a business was a very big challenge. The reason for that is that the bottle is designed in-house.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter designed the bottle on a graph paper, and she said that, we are using this two individual unique spirits and blending them together. Why don't we use two individual unique shapes and create a bottle out of that? So if I may,
Yeah.
this bottle actually is designed to be a sphere on the top and a square on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see that this is actually a sphere, it's a round,
Yeah.
which is sitting on a square pedestal.
Yeah.
And that's what her idea was. And this bottle could not be made here in the United States because the production cost and the molds, the designing was very expensive. So we went to China actually. So we designed this bottle in China. We, commissioned it there. But China has issues of its own. It's an international trade,
Mm-hmm.
container loads, packaging problem, shipping problem. The first shipment that we got in United States, that I told you we sold in 2012 September, actually was full of dust. Actually, the manufacturer
Yeah.
made this product and left it outside, and a sandstorm hit, and the whole all bottles, 1,000 cases had dust in there. Romy, me, and my daughter and my family, we went to distillery and hand washed every bottle.
Wow.
So those were the challenges. Then the next time we got a shipment from there, that the container got soaking wet in the ship, and the layers at the bottom of the pallets, they were all wet, so they had mold in there.
Oh,
Then next
jeez.
time we get a whole shipment that got crashed actually because the container hit something and the pallet tilted. These were the challenges, but we got into the stockouts. Brand was picking up. We had to beg and to our retailers to keep us on the shelf. We will bring the products. Those challenges took a lot of time to stabilize the ship.
Yeah.
So for first 5 years, actually, we never thought about starting a brand. We were just saying, damn, we have a good thing in our hand. We
Yeah.
need to stabilize it. We need to have a supply chain correct.
Yeah.
That's what I was mentioning earlier, that if I had known what I got into it, I will be facing, I would never start. These are the challenges that are unforeseen. We did not have no experience in importing that, especially a glass product, and that especially from China.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of challenges. Now, after about 5 6 years, we started thinking about, well, we got supply chain control. We have 30 some at that time probably 20 states. We have some overseas market they are asking for it. How about we start a new line? How about we give it a sister packaging, or
Yeah.
something that will draw upon the same following, but give them a new challenge or a new taste. So that's when the rum and tequila came into play. And that's the
Yep.
time we start thinking that, hey, we are doing vodka and tequila, rum and tequila. Tequila is our signature actually.
Yeah.
And we started registering, trademarking the names, which is, you see the rum Kila was registered, Whiskeyla was registered. We have another one called Horchata and Tequila, or Kila, which is
Huh?
Horchata. We did not make it, but we have registered it. And then we had actually Sangria also with Tequila. You will be amazed to know that the group that created Mezquila,
Mm-hmm.
Mezcal and Tequila, which is the Sammy Haggard group,
Yeah.
they copied us actually 7 years into the game. They tried to trademark that brand in 2017, 18, or something like that. But I'm just saying that the people are noticing us. They see what we are doing. They think there is a future in there, and that's why you see the successful people trying to bring into blends. Actually, we
Yeah.
never tried mezcal, and tequila, but that was the idea behind it. It didn't work too much. I don't see them in the market. But just for your surprise, probably even
Yeah.
Grey Goose came up with a blend. It was called Excel.
Wow.
It was a cognac and vodka. They didn't survive either.
Interesting.
And I mean, I'm just putting it out there. You can clip it off, down the road, because they are challenging them. But some of those things became popular because we started it. So
Yeah.
blends have become our identity. I think that I have achieved a level of blends that I need to focus on them instead of
Hmm.
creating too many of them. They might be eating into each other's sales. So
Sure.
we created Rum Kila because rum 5 years back, uh, rum was the thing that was coming up and still is after the bourbon. Bourbon craze was in 2010, 11, 12. We could not find bourbon actually. But
Wow.
then the European crowd started drinking dark rum. So the rum was the future. So we picked up rum first,
Hmm.
and that challenge has been actually good challenge for us because rum sales are almost half of Vodquila sale right now,
Wow.
which is only 2 years, 3 years in the game right now. So what took Vodquila 7 or 10 years to make, rum Kila is made in 3 years actually.
Wow.
But the next challenge was to appeal to the people who are actually drinking whiskey all the time.
Hmm.
But whiskey is whiskey, there are only three, four kinds that you can. Either you have bourbon or Tennessee whiskey, you have rye whiskey.
Yep.
Basically, it's the same thing, But the crowd is there that who likes brown drinks, and the rum was probably not very the dark rum was not very popular in United States in the beginning because of the white rum was used more often for mixers. So we thought about not going to the white rum side. We thought to the dark rum, and then the whiskey was used for as the final presentation because it is a beautiful combination.
Hmm.
We did not use tequila to influence the whiskey. We used tequila to just give it a spice, actually. Just like many companies have started doing cinnamon and vanilla extract or nutmeg to spice up the whiskey. We said we have a beautiful drink tequila that it's already very spicy and pungent. Why don't we add that in there? So this attempt in rum and whiskey is not to mellow down tequila. It is to bring a new change in the existing taste profile of a rum and whiskey. We just added a new dimension. Instead of putting cinnamon, instead of putting maple syrup, you heard about that. Instead of putting, vanilla in there, instead
Honey
of
or yeah.
putting honey in there, people are brown spirit industry has tried everything. Spiced rum is selling more than the dark rum actually because people like those changes. So we use tequila as a change. We use tequila as a new dimension, and I think that we have hit the home run again in Whiskeyla also. Just to show it to your audience that this is the second product. This is rum kila. It's a brown spirit. It's in a clear bottle. The bottle is same as the one that originally was used for this one. And
Yep. The
now
Vodquila.
the bottle is same, but now we have used this as a new packaging, same bottle, new design, new colors, so that there's a distinction. If they're together in the market, they know it's coming from the same company, the same people behind the product, and it's a good product, it's a good packaging. So that's why we created the third blend. But to answer your question for the future, I think to be a successful liquor brand, we need to have the basic spirits, which are basically six kinds. You have seen tequila is one,
Hmm.
vodka is one, and rum is one. So is gin, and so is whiskey, and we are bringing them together under one umbrella. And now we are working towards bringing a gin and vodka and rum, but they will not be blends any. They will be for your regular drinking pleasure. They'll be in the mid. They will be premium, but not super premium.
Yep.
They will be in $20 range, so they can be used in the same mixes that you make. You make your own drinks, and they'll be premium products in a very nice bottle, but not super premium prices like 30 and $40 range. It'll be 20, 22, 25 in that range. So a regular person who can go for an evening out, he can use this. But one more thing is we are bringing 100% blue agave tequila also, which the bottle uh, is being designed. It's not in the market, but that's our 100% blue agave tequila. It's going to be manufactured in Mexico.
Yep.
It will hit the market probably next year in the middle somewhere. But this is in all the phases are complete now. It's the the government phase, registrations, brands, listings, those are being done. So we are working towards that so that we can make this Red Eye Louie as a portfolio company, not just a company with blends only. Even though blends are our main product right now.
Gotcha. No, that's exciting, and it's exciting where the brand has headed, and the fact that obviously you've had a good reaction in terms of the blends, but also looking to expand into other, the pure play spirits, so to speak. You are also in the phase right now of doing an equity crowdfund. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to raise capital and then also to choose to go the route of equity crowdfunding and allowing anyone to be a shareholder in Red Eye Louie's?
This thing started about 2015. We were looking into the market to grow, and we just as a disclosure, we don't have any partners. Red Eye Louie's is completely owned by me, financed by my own personal money. And when we were accelerating our production, we needed money. So I started looking around. Nobody was there to really lend any money to the liquor brand who doesn't have a factory actually. Everybody wants collateral of the machine, collateral of a building. Brand does not have a collateral. So we were just, hey, they might be gone in the morning. So we never got any money from anybody. So I had to reach out to my personal banks and then collateralize some of my commercial properties to get a line of credit actually. We used that line of credit to grow and start launching Vodquila. At that point of the game, we got some outside interest going into our company. Some people who were part of the large organization in Birmingham who invested in many initial stages, one of the startups.
Yeah.
They were the one who approached us to say, hey, we would like to buy, into your company 10%, 20%, and they gave it a valuation and all that. But these are all money investing entities. Their only motive is exit. We invest, you exit, we make money. But they don't bring anything to the table regarding our knowledge of the industry, opening new doors. They can open new doors for the investment, but since I had the money from a bank, I did not need an equity partner.
Sure.
I need somebody who could actually make the sales go better. Maybe, give us some more guidance, maybe open some doors for distribution, new challenges, new venues that we needed. So we rejected that equity participation. We still needed the money, and I don't have any more collateral to go forward with. So we looked around, and then we found out that some of my friends have gone through crowdfunding. At that time, the crowdfunding was basically gift, which was started by Indigo and Kickstarter. So you give them $20 and you get a thank you note, or you get a sticker, or you get your product, copy of a product, or first product, or something like that. But as I mentioned, 2015, there was an act passed by the government which allowed crowdfunding companies to solicit money from individual investors also.
Yeah.
And this is basically changed the game in the industry. Now people like us who needed funds do not want to have a very large private equity to participate and tell us what to do next morning. They will tell us, okay, your sales are not good, this and that, and tell us how to run the company. We had another avenue that we can ask the public and say, look, you believe in us, you believe in our product. If you want to invest your money, you get either an equity, a share, or a debit note. We owe it to you. But we would rather get the money from you. So the government, the federal government allowed that in a Jobs Act in 2015 that progressed into some portals. The biggest one is Start Engine, the one that we are using. The next one is WeFunder.
Yeah.
These portals successfully launched so many funding campaigns that it became to our attention that that might be the venue I need to look into. A friend of mine from Cleveland, he did that and he guided me and said, Chander, this is a venue that gives me more control on my brand, but gives me money to go further with my plans. And along with that, if I exit, if I sell, everybody makes the money. But they are not after you to tell you that give me your sales from next morning, every quarter, you have to make a podcast and then, hey, we have to tell everybody, the whole world. I'm still private.
Yeah.
So that's when I started searching into that, and Start Engine became a very good portal for us, and they were very helpful. They have already successfully launched. The maximum allowed by the law is $1,070,000 from non-accredited investor. They have launched 6 liquor-based companies to achieve the maximum goal, maximum funding. And this is a crowdfunding, not A+ crowdfunding. So here we were guided by those folks, by basically handheld. They told us, how it will be done. And that crowdfunding has started. And I think that we made the right choice, even though we are in a very initial stage of the crowdfunding. We have already received, I think, $36,000 from 68 investors. But our goal is to go $1,070,000. But we have a 6 months period to go there. And we will be accelerating our promotions, accelerating our, the public relationships, social media and all that. But it is the right choice for us. And once we have that funds, we will be letting the investors know what we are doing. But we will not be obligated like we are in NASDAQ and Wall Street, that SEC is on your, checking with you. We are bound by SEC rules, but we don't have to disclose everything. And we don't have to listen to a group of people who can control your equity and tell you what to do. So that was the motivation: stay private, stay low, have the access to funds. And then those 68 people who are working with me today are my brand ambassadors. They put the money in my company. They believe in my company. They go to a liquor store. They tell them, hey, why don't you have this? I am one of the owners, or I would like you to have it. This is my package store. I would like you to sell it, because in the background, they know they are the owners actually. So those people who invest in this crowdfunding campaigns eventually become your brand ambassadors. If we could not get anything from private equity, we choose this method. But this method gave us an opening of a potentially 1,000 or 2,000 brand ambassadors who are every part of the world, every part of the walk of life. They are executives, they are investors, they are, financial people, they are working people. They're all working to make this company successful. That was one of the backgrounds of the crowdfunding portal. And I think we made the right decision. I'm just, working right now to achieve it. It will take another 2, 3, 4 months, but we'll get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And full disclosure, they might also be hosting this podcast. So I've myself am now an investor in Red Eye Louie's. But I appreciate you, Chander, opening up about the reason why, because I think that's interesting. And there's always this debate about whether to raise funds. And when you choose to raise funds a traditional route through a private equity or VC, as you mentioned, you're giving up a lot of control. And then there's the push for, well, hey, we've got to return money to our investors. So we need you to exit in the next 5 to 7 years so that we can then go and give that money back. And, the decision to want to be private, because, a lot of times, at least in the tech side, you hear about crowdfunding as an addition or an extra way to raise capital and then still maybe go the VC route. But to stay private is interesting. I don't think I've really heard of a company or really spoken to a company that's used crowdfunding as a way to get capital to have some of the same benefits of bringing in brand ambassadors, raise capital, but still maintain that the private status and not have that pressure that you get when you raise from an institutional investor?
It is a little bit different than the tech industry, and I will tell you why. What I think is why. Every tech startup wants to be a unicorn. There's nothing in between. You want to be a $1 billion company. To achieve that $1 billion range, you're not going to last with $5 million. Your burn rate is so high that you're going to have 200 people working for you. You're going to burning $1 million a month. That's why they have to keep on raising funds. They keep on giving away their equity because the potential to be for them to do an IPO in 10 years or 7 years is so big, and the failure rate is as high actually. So it's not that all of them become unicorn. They don't become big down. But that's the route that everybody has taken so far.
Yeah.
You can look at any company like the new Tesla people or the one that ANT, from the China.
Yeah.
And other groups who have became successful. They got, actually they're not even making money. They are just getting investors' money put in there and burning through it. But the whole motivation is go for an IPO, take my cut, and I'm done. Here it's different. Here it is the pride value. Trademark is not only for protecting the misuse of the mark. Trademark is also so that it is attached to me and my family.
Yeah.
And our industry is different. We cannot accelerate this growth. I cannot have like in USA, we have 200 million telephones or cell phones, and I can put an app there, and I have 100 million customers. It is an old-fashioned industry. You have to pay, like work on the payment. You have to go to the stores. You have to deal with the people. You have to sell slowly. You have to build a brand. The equity is in the brand actually. That's where we want to do it in a way that I can control the motion or the future of the industry for my brand.
Sure.
People have done this route, but most of them have exited out to a corporation. Brown Foreman is there, Jim Suntory is there. They're big constellation brands.
Yeah.
They will buy people like us and give the owner like me some money and say, you stay put there. You come in and sign statements that we'll release every quarterly. We will run the show. That can also happen. But in my case, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I don't need to exit. I don't need to take a vacation or retirement. I want to work for this company. I just want to continue. But continue to grow to a level that a lot more participants can part in there. But as long as we do have a decent control on the future. It's just the personal wish, and maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe if I was, Romy's age, probably I would be thinking the same way as the tech startups are doing. Then he said, well, let's go for an IPO, blow it up as big as we can, and then walk away, and then start a new project. I'm in the retirement stage right now. I'm just thinking, why?
Yeah.
What is going to do for me that I'm not having right now? I'm having a decent life. I'm living, my children are grown. What would I do with an exit that I cannot do while I'm still playing the game?
Yeah.
So this little bit different perspective, but we choose this route, and staying private is a priority right now. And down the road, if we have to give away 30-40% to grow, maybe eventually we may have to just go up and say, okay, we just bring it to over the counter or NASDAQ, and let's see what happens. But that is a little bit further out.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I guess you've kind of alluded to this, but along those lines and in the context of Red Eye Louie's, but also just in general, life in general, you've obviously had a lot of success entrepreneurially. You're building a business now that you're excited about. You've got your family involved, so it's got a lot of meaning to it. How do you define success?
Success is health and family. If you have health, your family is okay, and you can feed them, that is the success actually. having a bigger house and a bigger boat and a bigger car doesn't define a man. I think success is that you like what you're doing, you enjoy your job, you have a family, you have a decent health, and you have a decent security blanket. I think that's successful. Having lot more assets, it does not bring any more happiness. I believe in very simple life, uh, having more amenities. Yeah, if I could fly everywhere I go, probably make my job easier. But if I can't afford that, I'm willing to drive everywhere I go.
Yeah.
It take more time, but I'm okay with that. So success is where your own satisfaction is. If you're happy with your environment, with what you did, not happy with not succeeding, happy with what you have done, and taking contentment in there that I've done everything that I could, and I'm waiting, I'm still striving for results, and I'm working toward that. But I have a decent family, my health is good, I am happy, I like what I'm doing, and I think that's the bottom line for a successful person. Having a lot more money, I'm going to give you an example. People think that Mr. Bill Gates, lost $2 billion last night because the market crashed, right? That next day he makes one more $1 billion. Do you think that he loses sleep on that? No.
Absolutely not.
He has never touched that money anyway. It's all in the market. It's all a paper money. His real money is what he can use that to buy his own life's necessities, his home, his family, and the rest is all assets actually. They make you happy. We think that they makes us happy, but the people at that level, it's just a number. That can grow one time. Last few years back, he was $44 billion and he was the richest man. Today, $44 billion is probably 500 on a richest man actually.
Yeah.
Today is 200 billion and whatever the numbers are. But that does it make him less successful? No. The numbers are there. It's just there in the
Yeah.
asset form that you can say, I'm very successful because I made money. But your success is actually what you're taking to the home. You go home every night. Do you sleep well?
Yeah.
Do you play with your children? Do you have time to spend time with the family? Do you go to work and enjoy your work? Or are you stressed? I call the other side success. I don't call the numbers on your balance sheet as a successful person. I think the numbers on the other side of your family, your health, those are better numbers for me. So my size successful is person who is enjoying what he's doing,
Yeah.
and hoping that he's going to do better.
I love that. No, I think that's a great point. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Steve Jobs, as he was, sick at the end with cancer, said it doesn't matter how much money I've made, I can't buy time.
Exactly.
My health,
He
I
did say
can't.
that.
There's
And
nothing
how
I can
sad
do.
that ending was, that one of the smartest person on earth, he could not even buy with all his money, he couldn't buy health. And I'm not saying that was his fault. That was genetic.
Yeah.
It happened. But if we can have a decent lifestyle, decent health, that's a blessing actually. That's God's given gift. Let's enjoy it, while we can. It will happen to all of us. We all gonna go sooner or later. But while we are here, I think we should enjoy what we have and strive for the better. But looking at a comparative number that, oh, that is bigger than me, will it make that person any happier, or will we make me any sadder? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to make it better for me and my family. But there is a goal to do some things, but then there is a goal to actually reap the rewards of that something. Does that actually matter to me and my family? Are we still happy or not? If I'm not happy within my family, but I'm on the road every day trying to achieve that number, I think that's the wrong trajectory.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got a couple rapid fire questions. So one big thing about the podcast that we focus on is financial well-being. And, it's a big part of, being able to, as you said, have that comfort level that you need, but also, being secure and having some security and things like that. So I'm curious, what would you say is the best investment that you've made?
I think the best investment has been the Vodquila actually.
Okay.
That was a challenge. We used our own home funds. We used our funds from the home to invest in that, and that has multifold results. The brand is established. Our valuation is in millions right now, and that was the first $100,000 that went in there. Of course, we put more money as we needed it, but that is the best investment. I've invested in real estate before. I've invested in businesses. This turned out to be the best one for me.
Love that. Yeah, building that brand, that legacy along with it. What would you say on the flip side is the dumbest money mistake that you've made?
You will laugh at this, but I think I'm very smart. Everybody thinks, but we had a payment to make to our distillery, and we didn't know that our emails were intercepted by some group up in hackers somewhere in the hemisphere or different hemisphere.
Yeah.
So we got an instructions to wire them funds not to the regular bank and where we needed normally you would send. So I emailed back to the same email, hey, do you even have a factory in Mexico? Oh yeah, we have a plant in Mexico. We needed the money there. So I said, okay. So I wired $32,000 to that account. And I got a phone call about 5 days later on, Chander, we are still waiting for the money. I said, what the heck, if I wired it. And then we found out that it was actually, the group had actually hacked my emails, and the wiring instructions were changed in the same page that normally I see.
Yeah.
But the banking and all those was changed. So $32,000 went down the drain, never could be recovered. So since that day, we never email wiring instructions to each other. We only talk on the phone or text messages. Even if there is an instruction to wire, we call.
Yeah.
We call and make sure that is the correct. But you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So I'm one of them that thought that I could do better, but I did make a biggest, dumbest mistake.
That's tough. Yeah, that one stings. That one stings. But
it stings.
You learn. You live and learn. What would you say if you were to describe your relationship with money today? How would you describe your relationship with money today?
Money is necessary. In this world, we need the money. But motivation to earn more money is to use that to buy some happiness, not to acquire it and just store it. My motivation with the money is it is necessary for the basic necessities we need it. We need the food, we need a living area, we need some transportation and education and all that. But beyond that, if I could earn money and use it to buy happiness, could it be travel? Could it be a vacation? Could it be my children's, happiness, my grandchildren's happiness? But it has to achieve something. It has to buy something that makes me better. To have an accountable number to grow every day and then be happy just to look at the number is not the motivation.
Yeah.
I would rather use that money to buy, and of course not, just frivolously buy things that, make other people happy, but buy things that make you happy, which could be a travel plan that we haven't thought about it. And suddenly you think that $10,000 on a long trip was too much. Now I can afford it. Let's do it. I think that's that's the reason for the money.
Yeah.
And not for accumulation only, just to use it somehow and maybe do some charity work, maybe, do some things for church, maybe do things for the people who are not as fortunate as we are.
Yeah.
And that has to be part of your balance. We are all church going people. We have to accommodate those part of the life that are not fortunate enough. We need to do that. And this is just good use of money, which all the big people have agreed now that, they're going to donate all their money for charity. At our scale, we can do the same thing, but, within our means.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And last question I've got for you. What would you say is the biggest challenge facing regular Americans when it comes to money and finances?
I will say budgeting and planning. A regular American, including youngsters that I know, me included, in the beginning, you learn with experience, but we don't plan for disasters. We only plan for success. We need to plan for failures. If we don't plan for failures, we're gonna actually fail. And we do budget sometimes, but we normally under budget. Most of the time, the budget in a planning phase, when you are budgeting, I would say add 30-40% to the budget that you think is absolutely correct, because it's going to fail actually. So my thing is that the normal American lifestyle, we are only working from paycheck to paycheck. Savings are not there. Rainy days funds are not there. Future growth funds are not there. Children's education funds are not there. But because we can buy so many things so quickly, which gives you satisfaction or gratification today, we spend more money on that. But just like right now, COVID-19, nobody expected this disaster to come through. We were all thinking about the stock market will crash, the housing industry will do this and that. Nobody thought that a virus can kill, not only kill people, kill the whole environment of making money. Could not go to work, can't go do anything. Work from home is not an option for many people who are in the construction industry. They can work from home. So this kind of environment needed some planning in the past, actually, that we needed to have funds for a rainy day. This is a rainy day. Unfortunately, the rainy day has become a 6 months, 8 months ordeal. But those people who planned, they survived.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are all looking for the federal government to help us to bail us out. But that's what part of the original planning, that, when you make money, you need to save something for the future. That's the challenge, I think, our population, our USA citizens are facing, that we are not planning for the disaster.
Yeah.
We are only planning for success, that everything is going to go very good. But it doesn't. It won't happen that way.
Yeah.
We're gonna have challenges every 10 years. Nationwide, we have challenges every 10 years. 2007 to 2010, then this debacle. We had in between. We had bumps on the road. It's going to happen. So we need to plan better. We need to budget better.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think I like that. We only plan for success, but we don't plan for failure. And you're so right about that. Chander, thank you so much for sitting down today. I really appreciate you telling your story, opening up, and letting us into the how you've built your business and your career. I want to leave you with the last word. So whatever you want to share with the audience, and also please let the audience know how they can support the crowdfunding on Start Engine, as well as where they can find Red Eye Louie's and connect with the brand offline.
I will leave this conversation with the appreciation for the opportunity that this nation has given to me and many, many people like me. I am just going to say that if a person who did not speak English and still could make a life in the United States and make a better life for myself and for my family, immediate surrounding family, anybody can do it. We have the best resources on earth, environment-wise, nature-wise. Our weather system, our crops, our minerals, we have the best of everything. We are not just able to use them properly for our benefit. People in other countries, if you look at the flip side, then, we go to China. I go to China quite often because of my work there. There is that Shanghai and then the Guangzhou and all those. But then there is a rural China too that doesn't have access to our rural America is a lot more happier and a lot more prosperous than a rural China, rural India.
Yeah.
We forget that. We think that everything is just need to be given to us. We don't need to work for it. We don't work harder. There is an opportunity that other people are coming to the United States and achieving it. Why can't we do it? We need to all work towards that game. We can do it. We are the best nation on earth. And if this nation can adopt an immigrant and then, give him an opportunity to succeed, why not the local citizens who have the birthright to be here can do that? That'll be my parting challenge to everybody is that, look, if a guy with a suitcase and a $20 bill can, live a decent life and send 2 children to school and good colleges, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Second thing is that this company that we are working towards right now, as mentioned, that it is part of the Start Engine portfolio. They are working and helping us to raise funds for this. You can go to startengine.com. You can just search for Red Eye Louie, or you can go to startengine.com and then search for food and beverage column, and then you will find us there. The shares are there's a certain value to the share, and then you have a minimum amount that you can invest, and then beyond that, these are Start Engine. This Friday is going to start a new portal that you can trade these shares within Start Engine. Even if you acquire shares today from Red Eye Louie or any other company, and starting tomorrow, Friday, if you want to trade those shares, you'll have a limited market within Start Engine. That is the new environment that they have created.
Yeah.
And this is just like a smaller scale stock market, NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange. Within Start Engine, within any of their portfolio companies, you can trade those shares. And I think that will open up a little more opportunities for people who could not get into some successful crowdfunding earlier. And if somebody wants to leave that, you can join it. Or similarly, like, if somebody wants to come at the late stage and the funding is closed, they can still be part of that company because now they can trade the shares. Yeah. So that will be another added advantage of going to Start Engine. But they have successfully launched so many companies, and they are actually successfully launching their own campaign also, which is much larger than ours. But they have a very good spokesperson on board now, Mr. Wonderful,
Yep.
From the Shark Tank. He's part investor, part owner of the Start Engine, and he's also running his own company's campaign to raise funds on Start Engine. He has I think the money payment or something, or stock buying, some company that he owns that company. He's raising funds on Start Engine. So you can see that this has been accredited. This has been approved by smart people, smarter than us. So I would say go there, look at our company, look at our portfolio, look at our pitch, and if you like it, please invest with us. We are in this race for the long range. We are not the sprinters. We are the long range horses. We're going to run for a long time. So join us.
I love that. I love that. Well, Chander, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today, and really, really appreciate the time. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, William, for having us. And I appreciate the opportunity. And I wish you all the success. You are young, you are doing great things. And I hope the portfolio that you picked up and the style of work that you picked up, you grow in that, and you become one of the national, heroes that we can listen to every time.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, yeah, working towards the goal. So
right. Thank you so much. Same is here.
That's it for today's episode of the Silicon Alley podcast. I hope that you enjoyed the interview with Chander Arora. I had a lot of fun speaking with Chander and hearing his incredible story of immigrating to the US and then building a successful entrepreneurial career, but more importantly, a family and life. What I really appreciate about Chander is, one, he reminded me of the incredible opportunity the US gives to its citizens and immigrants. I'm guilty of taking much of the freedom and opportunity that I have for granted. And a lot of times, I know, especially with this episode dropping just after the election in 2020, if you're listening to this way down in the future, things are a little tumultuous. And so I can take those things for granted. And I think a lot of us can, based on what I'm seeing on Twitter and Instagram and all these other places. So thank you, Chander, for reminding of the great opportunity that we have here. In addition, despite all of the challenges, Chander never made an excuse, but instead figured a way to overcome them, from issues with shipments from China to the hacker stealing $32,000. It's truly inspiring, his grit, humility, and resilience. On your way out, please make sure to share the podcast with others. That's the only way the community grows and others hear this incredible stories from the entrepreneurs that we have on here. I take pride in telling a mix of stories that have never been heard. Example, this was Chander's first time doing a podcast, never been heard, in addition to notable names like Brad Feld and some of the other big names out there. So please do your friends and family a favor and share the Silicon Alley podcast today. That's it for today. I'm William Glass, CEO and co-founder of Ostrich, and of course, your host of the Silicon Alley podcast. Have a spirit-filled day.
You got no time to waste, but still you hesitate. Caught in a circle